doctors in all of New England. And so there's really no reason a patient needs to leave this community in this area to have their cardiovascular issue dealt with.
That is more than medicine, I would say.
Make the right choice for your heart. Choose South Coast Health. Visit southcoast.org/heart to learn more or to find a physician.
New Bedford Speaks on the Taylor Cormier Show, 1420 WBSM, New Bedford's news talk station.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the program All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center. We're located in New Bedford in the North End on Church Street. Just off of Route 140, you take exit 5, put you on Church Street. We're down on the right-hand side, just past Regal House Furniture. Very easy to get to. Most of the gals know where Regal House Furniture is. And you can give us a call here. We can talk about car problems, whatever's bugging you. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous summer day. We're almost at our peak solstice. So you really have to get out there. And, you know, if even if you're a little bit under the weather, it's good to get a little bit of sunlight. The sunlight, revives you, brings your body back. And it's been used since ancient times to help heal you. Now, too much of a good thing is not good either, like anything else. So, but a little bit of sunlight to build some vitamin D after a long winter and darkness, fall, winter, spring. Our spring's been this is still spring technically, but we're at the very end of it now. But spring has been a cool spring. So now's the time. Summer seems to arrive, and it just, as quickly as it comes, it goes. So give us a call here, 996-0500, 996-0500, toll-free anywhere on earth at 877-996-1420. A lot of things happening in the world of automobiles, a lot of things happening in the world of politics. You name it, it's happening. Crazy, huh? It's a very, very interesting time to be alive. All the things happening around us. And sometimes you just want to drop out. Take Timothy Leary's advice. For those of you who remember him, tune in, turn on, and drop out. Sometimes you just feel like dropping out. But the news is the news. It never ends. It'll always continue, and it's always it's always something new happening out there. You have to stay informed to be aware of what's happening in your local area, your state, your country, your world. Things are moving fast. Sometimes they get out of control. What concerns me the most, though, is the loss of our civil liberties and our financial liberties as well. And that erosion is on both those fronts are taking place very quickly. And that's what you have to be vigilant for. You have to be vigilant. Give us a call here, 996-0500, and we can talk about whatever's bugging you. All kinds of things going on. I was reading an article here about a fellow who was very talented. This fellow, Seth Brigetti is his name, Seth. His wife his wife actually was driving one of his old Ford Broncos. Okay, now Broncos, for those of you who don't know, the first edition of Broncos came out in the early 70s. Little kind of like a cop, kind of like to go after the Jeep Wranglers. Okay, it was a tough little two-door Ford vehicle built by Ford Corporation. Caller, call me back. The light was flashing. I don't know what happened there. I apologize. It's built by Ford. It's a stout little vehicle built on the lines of the Jeep Wrangler, and they were popular at the time. They never really took off crazy, but they were fairly popular. International came out with a little Scout, they called it, a little two-door Scout that they came out with to compete against the Wrangler as well. And they were not as popular, but they were tough too, tough little vehicles. There were some good vehicles built. But the little Bronco now is, if you have an old one built in the 70s, they're worth crazy money. And this fellow goes out and he finds them and restores them to different levels of condition and modifies them. And it was an interesting read of what's happening in the industry here with more and more segments of the marketplace. People who are taking cars and restoring them for their own use, as well as restoring them for the people as well to buy. Different customers. Okay, they turn it into a business. Some of these people are very talented. They put some serious money into them, and it costs some serious money to buy these vehicles. One vehicle that I'm familiar with is the Jeep Grand Cherokee. The old Grand Wagoneers, the Woodies. They had a 360 V8. They were big wagons. They started building those wagons in the early 60s, and they ran them right through to 1991, essentially unchanged. I mean, the frame and the body. They did modify it electronically and finally integrated the air conditioning in the dashboard. Before it was a watt package, meaning that it was you put air in and it was like the old add-on air conditioners they mount below the dashboard. For those of you guys out there who remember that, and the condenser was basically what you were mounting underneath the dashboard, okay? Because it was not integrated into the heater box systems, and Jeep finally integrated it in the latter years of its production. I mean, that's how slow these guys change. But those Grand Wagoneers now, if you want one restored, my God, you're talking minimum $35,000 and up. You can easily spend $75,000 or even north of that, depending on the year and the equipment and the color. So on that's Grand Wagoneers. And same is happening here on these Ford Broncos. The Ford Broncos restored with a 302 V8 start at $80,000. Okay, and he has one with modified with four-wheel disc. This fella here was rebuilding these Broncos. He has one with a V8 302. It's a little souped up. Four-wheel disc brakes, which is definitely a modification from the the drum brakes back then, and with a leather interior, is $120K. Okay, and he has one all bombed out, loaded. It's called the Warrior, and your choice of color, and it has a Coyote powertrain. And also 4-link suspension, so it's modified even further with Wilkwood brakes, heated seats, and custom leather at more than $160,000. Okay, and he also puts a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty on it, so you can see these little segments starting this regeneration of entrepreneurship in America, and it's good to see. Unfortunately, you don't see it happen around here, but it is good to see happening throughout the country, and. These Broncos now are bringing serious buckaroos. Okay. Let's see. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Ralphie.
Billy.
What's going on?
Not a heck of a lot, Billy. Staying busy, trying to stay in the game. And, we're a little light on cars. We have to go out, pick up a few more and get them ready for people. So, trying to stay busy, Billy. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah? You were feeling a little under the weather there.
Yeah, it's not bad, though.
Yeah?
I'll survive.
You'll survive, okay.
Yeah.
Good man. So, got to think positive, Bill.
Of course.
You got a few miles on you. Right?
Yeah, well...
we were talking about cars. I was talking to Billy. Huh?
It's good miles.
Yeah, it's good miles. Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, nothing that I like you got up in your ship.
No, I don't think there's anything there that you're going to... No, I don't think there's anything there you're going to be overly
okay.
enamored with right now in stock that has come in recently. I'm trying to think here. I printed a list. Let me go through it. I'm really organized today, let me tell you. Going around crazy the last few days. So
how was the traffic coming?
Quite crazy, especially around Fons Corner Road where the construction is. And,
yeah.
That was a pain, and the traffic was heavy. Even over here, coming over down 240 was pretty nuts.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a nice day.
Not even the 4th of July.
Yeah, Father's Day, everybody's out,
Made me reflect a little bit, Billy. The lack of civility during, peacetime, to use those terms. No major issues happening. Can you imagine if any major event took place? Be it a, hurricane, earthquake, or a terrorist attack in this area or something like that. The lack of civility you see during calm times, I can imagine what would happen during, an event. And it makes you, take pause. So.
Hey, Ralph.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on my porch.
Yep.
And remember the 1958 Continental 4-door Lincoln?
1958. Oh, 58.
Yeah.
4-door Continental.
Lincoln, big ones.
Yeah, Lincoln.
One just went by.
Yep.
It's a dark blue. What a nice looking car.
Really?
Yeah, I mean with the white walls and the chrome wheels, and it was just immaculate. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that one was a big horse, but
yes, it was a big long car.
Yeah.
4-door.
Yeah. They refined that car in the 60s. It was absolutely gorgeous towards the late 60s. Isn't that the one, Billy, that had the rear glass that would go down?
Yes.
in the back seat.
And the back doors open up suicide?
Suicide, yeah. They carried that through to the late 60s.
I mean, it's a long, I looked at, wow, look at this big Lincoln come up the street. And it's like a royal blue, real dark blue. And I mean, it was I couldn't believe it. You know, it's just perfect. No scratches, no dents when you stop at the sign over there. It's, wow.
Well, Billy, that's when America was great.
Jesus, no.
To use the term.
I haven't seen one in a long time. That's what caught my eye.
No, but when you look at cars, then the power of this country, the energy, people were optimistic. We just come out of a major world war and a good serious war career, and we're coming out of the recession of the late 50s under Eisenhower, just before Kennedy came into power, and before we got involved in Vietnam, another sinkhole. Yeah, another waste of American men and material.
Let me ask you, what do you think size engine was in that
Lincoln?
Yeah. Gotta be a big one.
Yeah, I don't think it was as big as the last ones. The last ones, I think, were like 500s or 490. They were weird cubes. The last ones are 502s or something in the late 60s. That one probably had a big horse in it, though. Probably in the 3-something, 380s, 390s. I don't really know about.
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. But I know it's going to be a big one because it's a hell of a big car. It's pushing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a big horse. There's no question. That car probably weighs over 5,000 pounds, right?
Yeah.
When you say?
I was shocked to see one because, I mean, I seen them, when they were first come out, but I ain't seen one like that in years. I mean, this was just an immaculate car.
Hell of a car to go on a date with.
Oh, plenty of room back there, boy.
Yeah, hell of a car to go on a date with. These kids don't know what they're missing, huh? Today's world. Of course, today they just say, "Hey, Mom, hi, Dad. I'm here with Mary Ann. Go to my room."
Yeah, right.
Different world today.
Yeah. So, all right, so what? There goes the rice burner.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah.
I can hear it.
Yeah, he's whipping it out there.
They had I'm looking here now, 58, it says here, history of the 58 through 60 Lincoln Continental.
There you go. Yeah.
58 Continental Mach 3.
That was the first year.
Yep. And the 59 Continental Mach 4 and the 1960 Mach 5 cars are largely forgotten, and in fact were purposely renumbered by Ford Motor Company, which introduced a new Lincoln Mach 3 in '68. See, that's the ones I recall very clearly. In the genre of the 56 through 57 cars, but far more popular priced. Sales point. Now, and it says that these 1958 through 60 cars were the largest unit construction cars ever built. And were constructed alongside the Ford Squarebird, Thunderbird 4-seaters, and the brand new Wixom at the Michigan plant. So it goes into talk about these cars, about that. You get into all the nuances of these cars. You can spend a lot of time reading the details, as you well know. Now, I said the weight of the car, Billy, the car weighed over 2.5 tons.
Wow.
Imagine that, huh?
Yeah.
That's what? That's got to be like at least 3 or 4 smart cars, right?
A lot of Toyotas in that sucker.
Yeah. I know it, huh? It says 2.5 tons, and were constructed massive, heavy, comfortable, ultra-luxury cars when new. And it says here, weigh no more than many large SUVs of the current day. Yeah, like a Suburban or something, right? Fuel economy, however, was an oxymoron with these cars due to their all-new, massive, and heavy 430 cubic inch V8 engine.
400, wow.
Which initially produced as much as 400 horses. Okay?
Yeah.
And they had some with some of them were with 3 two-barrel carburetors, which was an option in 58. All right. So, which I didn't know that they had that 4.
I didn't know what size engine they really had in it.
Yeah, that 430 cube, right? Which is a pretty strong puppy, right?
I guess, yeah, it should be.
All right. That's a pretty serious fire there, right?
Yes.
And 400 horse, pretty serious horse considering it's naturally aspirated. No fuel injection, no turbos, none of that stuff, and no direct injection, of course. So that's pretty serious. Imagine the torque out of that 430.
Oh, yeah.
Timurs, huh?
Oh, yeah. She's got a lot of talking.
Yeah, 4, with that cubic inch. And 3 2-barrels. So it's kind of like a GTO, the Pontiac Tri-Power, which were factory options in 58. By 60, the car had been detuned to 315 horse. What a letdown that is. I wouldn't buy it if I went to see the dealer and he told me, well, last year we had 400 horse. This year we got 315. I said, get the hell out of here. And they probably went up on the price. And it had, with a single 2-barrel carburetor, instead of improving the MPGs from about 9 to 12, so it says here, let's see, by 1960, the car had been detuned to 315 horse with a single 2-barrel carburetor in the interest of proving the gas mileage from about 9 miles to the gallon to 12. Does it make much difference at that point?
Oh, boy.
Huh?
No.
Jesus.
I know.
Maybe that was...
A friend of mine just went by with a big Electra 72 Buick, 4-door hardtop.
Yep.
I said, another big one just come up the road. White walls with a vinyl roof.
Wow.
I think that's got about a 350 in it, I think.
It says here, even the wealthy were complaining of 9 miles to the gallon, even when prices of premium leaded gas at some 30 cents a gallon.
I wonder if you had to use white Amoco gas in them years ago.
Well, you had to run premium on that 400 horse job because of the...
Wasn't Amoco clear white gas?
Yes. Amoco was the only one that offered a white gas.
Yeah, right.
Which white gas today, it's all white gas today because there's no lead.
Yeah.
Now, basically, white gas was a term they used for no lead gasoline. And Amoco had it, and it was always, as you know, always sold for a premium.
Oh, yes.
Of about 15, 20 cents in the day, right?
Yes.
And now, and I remember buying white gas at the time because Mercury Outboards recommended that you run their engines on white gas. And Coleman stoves back in the day, and today too, remember those little portable lamps and stoves? They could burn the white gas.
Yeah, I remember them. Yep.
Yeah, you couldn't put
Coleman, right?
Right, you wouldn't put regular gas because it would clog up the generator. But if you put in the generator with a little vaporizing tube, but if you put the white gas,
Amoco white gas,
that sufficed. And Mercury's required it because they didn't want the lead deposits on their pistons. Mercury was always pretty anal about what kind of oil and how you ran their engines. Of course, now they got 2 factories in China, so I'm not overly impressed with those guys. But as we pot out our country, and culturally we're a disaster, is what's taking place. If you look what's happened this past week.
Hey, Ralphie.
Yeah.
Question of the day.
Yeah.
4-door hardtops. Okay. You know what I'm talking about?
4-door hardtop. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All the windows go down.
Yeah.
There's no center post.
Yeah.
What decade did they come out with that?
Whoa. That's a trick question. That's a trick question now.
No, and I'm taking this off the top of my head because I don't have nothing in front of me here.
Oh, shit. That's a quick question. Yeah, you got me there, buddy. So, let's see. I don't know, Burley. I know they're around in the 60s for sure.
Yeah.
Something like that. I would say that the designers and the flamboyance of the 30s, it probably comes out in the 30s. If I had to. No?
No.
No, because they had some 4-door convertibles in the 30s. And,
yeah.
I think of Roosevelt riding around in a 4-door convertible. You're right. And that,
how he's come to call 4-door hot tops.
Probably
got a hot top.
In a modern production vehicle, probably 50s.
You're right. Absolutely right. It was in the 50s.
Yeah, 50s. Because the war years, forget it. But
no, in the 50s they come out with a 4-door hot top.
Who came out with that?
Well, Chevrolet and all of them come out with it.
Okay.
Way back when.
I was thinking about here, I was reading about, what the hell was I reading about? You get so many articles here that, about cars and what's happening in the industry. Volkswagen's trying to retrench now because of their cheating on emissions.
Now that was strange because back in the 50s you could get a 4-door hardtop, we'll just say a 57 Chevy or 56, okay?
Yep.
And you get a 2-door hardtop.
Mm-hmm.
The goddamn 2-door hardtop costs more money.
Well,
than the
two-door
4-door.
coupes always usually do cost more than 4-doors.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I mean, traditionally it's always been that way, but
Yeah.
and they're always worth more, much more when you go to trade them or sell them, or you know, the little coupes, since they're far and few between.
Yep.
They bring. It's just like old cars, Billy, right?
Yep.
A nice, clean '54 Chevy 4-door, same mileage, same color, same equipment, versus a little 2-door. The 2-door is going to be worth quite a bit of bucks more, right?
Exactly. Yes.
It's just going to, in the same year, all things being equal,
Yep.
it's going to be worth. I was reading here about talking about a Mexican company here. They're going to be building a plant, believe it or not. They're coming from, this is a Mexico-based, the country-based supplier. Tremec Corp. Plans to invest $54 million to create 133 jobs in Michigan to open its first major factory in the United States.
Wow.
All right, so there's money coming the other way, okay? It doesn't happen often, but it's happening here.
Wow,
and it's going to Michigan. It's not coming to Massachusetts. It's going to Michigan.
Yeah. Why does it come here?
There's a long story, Billy. But forget about it. Ain't coming here.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I'm let other people talk. I've been talking to you long enough.
All right, Billy, I hope you're feeling well. Listen, I might have you here next week because I'm on vacation. So.
Yeah, all right. Now, I'll catch you this week to see what, if there's anything you want special done on it.
All right.
Okay?
All right, hope you're feeling better.
At the dealership.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hello, this is Ralph?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, hi, Ralph. Yeah, I was listening to you and Billy, and I came in the house and pulled out one of my books.
Yep.
I thought those... He said it was a Lincoln, right? 58?
58 Lincoln, yeah.
4-door?
He says it was 58, 59 Lincoln Continental.
Yeah, I got my book. Well, the book says they were powered by a 375 horsepower engine. But I always thought they came out with a 460 cubic inch engine on that. Now, that's the horse they're quoting in this Lincoln book I got here in front of me. But it doesn't say the cubes.
Yeah, this one, the one I'm looking up here said in a 58 Lincoln Mark III.
Yeah, this is the Mark, yep.
Yeah, this had a V8 430 cubic inch, 375 horse, 4-barrel.
Oh, it said 430. I always thought...
Yeah.
I know, I'm almost sure.
cube.
Didn't they make a 460 cube, too, though?
Yeah. They They made it. They made a the ones I was familiar with were like 490, either 498s or 502s, 503s. It was kind of a queer number they had.
Yeah,
and a Lincoln. And a Lincoln, because I had a 69 Lincoln. It was bright orange factory, too, I might add.
Yeah.
And I was going to keep it. And I had a friend of mine, a dealer, wholesaler from Rhode Island, David Martinelli. He was all over me for that car. He kept bugging me.
Really?
Finally, I drove it through the summer. Finally, I said, I'll sell it to you, David. Worst mistake I ever made in my life because that car's worth a fortune today. I should have kept it. But, hey, life goes on. You know, you touch a lot of cars in life, and if you're in the car business. And this was
He just said, though, he said it was a 58, right?
I think he said 58. Correct.
Yeah. Because I'm looking in my book, and it tells me it's got 370, the Lincoln Cornell Mark III, a 375 horsepower engine. And it said the body weighed 5,040 pounds.
Yeah, it was over 5,000, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
but it doesn't, I'm almost sure I knew that, but you said that you remember they did have a 460, though.
Well, I know the 430 I read about. The one I'm familiar with was later in the 60s, which had a bigger engine in it. Yeah, they peaked out around, I mean, when I looked at the engine, as big as the car was, there was still no room under the hood.
Well, that's funny about the cars of that era.
Yeah.
You can look, like you said, you can open up that hood, and there's so much more room, and they might have a big cube engine, but you look around, you go, wow, it's incredible that the room is still there.
Yeah. Well, the one I had with the big engine, a 500, it was kind of tight. It was a big engine, but I mean, it was a huge engine.
Yeah.
And it was a real nice car. I really enjoyed driving it. I mean, today, cars like that, I mean, it's forget about it. It's just.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Now they make everything's downsized. Even your Cadillacs and everything's all downsized.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. It's
well, hey, like you said, back in them days, fuel was cheap, and even you said at that price, some wealthy people were complaining, right?
Yeah, it's relative though, right? Kinda when you think about it.
Yeah,
you know, if you're making $5 an hour, it's relative to the marketplace. Although I think net Americans are significantly poorer now than they were in the 60s. Anybody would admit to that today because we've given up all our manufacturing.
Oh, yeah.
And now we've turned into a welfare war state. Welfare here at home and wars abroad. And that's,
we're a third world country, literally.
We're definitely on our way.
Yeah,
okay.
On the downslope, unfortunately.
And the policies coming out of Washington is a continuum of these policies.
That's a joke.
And it's more people want to be supported by the government instead of being in charge of their own lives, instead of being slaves to the system.
Unfortunately, it's true.
I wish I could say I'm optimistic. I am an optimist by nature.
Right.
But as far as our governance goes, if we have a continuum of these type of policies, I mean, Obama's going to go down. He's going to, and I'm not saying this in a political sense. I'm saying this just as an observer. I think the Obama administration will probably go down as the worst administration in modern times. It's going to make Jimmy Carter look good.
Without a doubt.
Jimmy Carter look good.
It's unfortunate, but his policies, I don't know if his cabinet, his advisors, unbelievable. It's the worst administration, and I'm up there in age that I've seen since I've been alive. That's all I can say, and I'm past 60. Yeah.
Shh. You're not supposed to talk about it. It's politically incorrect.
But anyway, getting back to Billy. If Billy's listening, tell him he probably saw that Lincoln because there's a car show at Ashley Ford today.
Oh, okay. Well, Ashley Ford. Well, that's
Ford products. Yeah.
Well, folks, you heard it. If you want to go buy it, go to Ashley Ford. He's a local new car dealer in New Bedford, and that's an endangered species, to say the least, to be a new car dealership. It'd be any kind of business in New Bedford, but a new car dealership or even a used car dealership in New Bedford's difficult. So I would say go by there and get reacquainted with them, and also, they're doing a service in the community by putting these cars. So take your kids by there.
Yeah, it's an all Ford show. I go. As a matter of fact, I'm on my way up there.
Well, that's good. The Lincoln you're talking, the 69 Lincoln, 66 through 69 Lincoln had a 340 horse engine.
Horsepower.
Yeah, at 4,600 Rs.
And what was the cubes again?
Well, the one I'm looking at here doesn't give me the cubes. It gives me all the torque, which is kind of.
Sure. I know they made a 460 back in the late 50s. I want to say 58, 59, but my book isn't telling me. It's telling me the horsepower, but it's not telling me the cubes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they, back then records weren't kept at. Like today, everything's barcoded, and it's like when you order parts for cars, and people say, "Well, give me this part," and I'll say, "I need your VIN number." What do I have to give you that for? Because they change on them. After 1001, they change vendors, so I have to know. So that model, yours is a 1002, and they change that supplier and that VIN number. It's all VIN number driven part systems, and people have a hard time just getting it in their heads. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and can't comprehend it.
Yeah, and even on very basic parts, and you have to have your VIN numbers. The older stuff, it wasn't that way, but the newer stuff, forget about it. I see here, though, I'm talking to you. 69 now. Lincoln had a displacement of 459.8 cubic inches.
Wow, that's odd, huh?
Yeah, you could call it a 460, just like you were saying.
Okay, yeah, that would be the 460
That's right.
Of.
That's the 460 you're thinking of, which was 7,536 cc's in today's metric. 7,500. So that's when most of the world is driving around in a 1,200 cc car. You can see the.
So change it over. What would it put that in liters? Like 7-point-something liter?
Yeah, 7.536 liters. 7,000. It's 7,536 cc's. So that's a 7.5 liter engine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep, and that's that 460 you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, and
I knew they made a 460, but I just couldn't get. My book won't tell me the cubes. Yeah.
And it had a curb weight. The 69 I had a curb weight of 5,200 pounds.
Wow.
How's that?
That was a dinosaur.
Yeah, you hit something with that. It was Good Night Irene.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Top speed was 127 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cooking, right?
What you said yours was a coupe or a convertible?
Mine was a four-door sedan.
Oh, four-door sedan.
I had a ragtop, too, but it was a four-door sedan.
Oh, Wow.
bright orange from the factory. It was like a burnt orange. Yeah, very strange.
That's an unusual color. I remember some cars, but I don't seem to remember ever seeing one in that color choice. Yeah.
So my Italian buddy wanted it.
Wow.
Said, he drove me nuts all summer, but it was a beautiful car, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, we just we're not. That's when America was on top. That's when we were great, I guess. Huh? When you think of it, we had the manufacturing.
I know you don't play much music anymore. If you get a chance this week or one of your next shows, try to dig up that guy Al something from World War II. He died in the Blitz there in London.
Oh, Al Borley?
Yeah. You always play something there.
Oh, yeah, I love Al Borley. I'll pull up Al Borley.
Maybe another program if you don't find it this week. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. The very thought of you, Al Borley.
Okay,
that makes a nice summer song, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call.
Okay, Ralph. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye. Very good afternoon to you, caller. Thank you.
Hey,
for your
Ralphie.
patience. Hey, what's up?
How's my comrade?
Well, comrade is okay.
How's Billy?
Billy is doing well. Billy was a little under the weather, but he's coming around.
I got to tune up my Trabant.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
You were talking about the VINs and everything.
Yep.
United Kingdom. They could be, all the parts could be shipped to the UK, assembled in the US, Canada, Japan. Yeah, it's like you think you're buying a Japanese car or American car, and it's, you never know where the parts come from or where it's assembled.
Well, no, these cars are, to say the least, whatever the manufacturer is, it's globally sourced today. But on a new car label, you can read, and it'll tell you the percentage in America of American assembled as well as foreign parts.
Big day tomorrow, fella.
Big day, yes, it is.
Father's Day.
Yep. Also the first day of summer.
Yep. They taking you out to eat?
Actually, I'm going. My son has got me a ticket to go to the Ryan Ferreira fundraiser tonight at District 1 Fire Department in the Paint Aaron Village. So
nice.
That ought to be fun to go.
You got to break bread with the upper crust.
Well, a lot of my firefighter friends, because I'm on the fire department in District 2, so to show some support for the Ferreira family, because he died at such a young age.
Yeah.
So.
Hats off to you.
Yeah, well, no, it's try to do your thing right.
Yeah, with this election, I tell you, I don't know if Elizabeth Warren is actually going to be picked by Hillary.
I don't think so. I don't think people would accept two women running in the two highest offices in the country, and I'm not being racist or when I say that or against women or anything like that. I don't think it's going to sail. I think they probably try to convince Bernie, so all Bernie's minions could go and vote for him and her and him. Maybe in that way, I should say.
That makes sense,
Well, whether he goes for it, but I mean, and then they figure he's not a threat to rerun the next time. He'd be too old.
Right.
And,
he's what, 70 now?
Oh no, I think he's 74, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he's 74.
I think I'm doing homie.
John McCain, his time is gone. A lot of those old timers in the Congress or senators. The time is come and gone.
They're up there in years, and you know what? It's time to move on.
Who was the oldest guy there? Was it Trent Lott? Wasn't he 94? Didn't he father out of wedlock a child? Was it his housekeeper? Was that Trent? Not Trent.
No, that wasn't Trent Lott. That was an old Southern boy.
Oh yeah.
Came out of the old South. Jeepers, I can't pull his name out of my head.
I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, you're going back.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he hobbled, he wouldn't quit. They always put him in, and I think he was 94, 95.
Yeah.
Couldn't even walk to the podium anymore.
I think he had his wake in the...
yeah. So anyway. All right, well, have a good day.
Well, okay, you be
Keep
good.
up the faith.
Yep. Thank you.
Positivity,
that's it. So stay positive, stay aware of the events taking place around us, because there's certainly a lot of things happening.
Oh, yeah, don't forget to pay your taxes.
Well, you have no choice in that. They pretty much take them before you even see it.
The Commonwealth of Mass, it's such a nice place.
Oh, they're all tough, actually. The whole
tax you to death.
Well, Mass is a progressive state.
Oh, yeah.
Progressive.
Oh, big saying in the hood on Father's Day, Mama, who's my daddy? I don't know. Ask your other 10 siblings. I forgot. Take care.
See you later. All right, boy. Okay, you can give us a call. 9960500, 9960500. A few things. Today being June 18th. June 18th. Boy, it comes, it goes, doesn't it? Sunrise, 5:09 this morning. 5:09. Actually, I got up around 4, and you could still see the sky starting to bright. It was, it's amazing here, and to see twilight early morning. Skies are just starting to brighten up about an hour before sunrise. Gorgeous early morning. So 5:09 was sunrise. We did not gain any time from last Saturday. So we've reached the peak in morning early daylight. So if you're going to bed at 3, then you're not seeing this at 5. That's for sure. So get to bed early tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. You can get up real early and see it and enjoy it. Sunset is at 8:21. 8:21. So I think we've reached a moon high tide in the evening. We gained 3 minutes. We gained 3 minutes from last Saturday. So we gained 3 minutes for the week. So summer has arrived. Or the daylight in all its fullness is here. So it's reached its climax. And so next week, I think the tide of light will start to rescend. We might be off a minute. I don't know. I'm going to be on holiday. I'm going to be on vacation, so I won't be here. Probably for the next couple of Saturdays. And Billy is going to stand in for me. I'm going to be in another part of the world, and maybe I'll call in. But we've gained 3 minutes from last Saturday. Summer solstice begins tomorrow. Oh, excuse me, not tomorrow. Monday, the 20th, at 6:34 p.m. to be exact. Okay. So, and we're going to have a full moon too coming up, which will be a solstice moon at 8 p.m. So that'll be gorgeous as well. So you pay attention to what's happening around you. Enjoy the simple things in life. Okay. If you're just tuned into CNN and Fox News, then your mind is confused. So just enjoy the simple things that God has put here in the universe for us to enjoy. Just take a second or two and look up in the skies and pay attention and give thanks. Low tide has already happened. Low tide took place here at 12:35. Okay, so we've reached low tide, and the tide's about to turn ever so gently and start to come in. So high tide is this evening for you fishermen. It'll be at 7:32, so you can come in at a full tide, or even if you come in after the sunset, you'll still have a lot of water under you. It'll be an hour's worth of tide out maybe, but still enough to come in for most boats. So high tide is at 7:32. Moonrise ought to be gorgeous. If you're near the shore, or take your significant other, be that who it may be. Go out for an ice cream cone. Watch the moon come up at 6:37 this evening. So, and with the skies clear like they are, nice summer day, it'd be so romantic to go out, get an ice cream cone, and watch the moon come up. And it sets tomorrow morning at 4:05. 4:05. So that's what's happening around you. Get out there and enjoy your life, because it's sooner than you think. Very good afternoon to you, caller. Later than you think.
Hello.
Hi, caller. Hello. Hi.
Is this the station?
Yes, you're on the air, ma'am. You're on the air, ma'am.
The guy that's on the air right now is summer starts on the 20th.
That's.
I would like to correct him.
Go ahead. I'm certainly correcting.
Because summer starts on the 21st. You know why?
Why?
Because I got married on the 21st.
Okay.
And it's going to be 64 years.
Oh, God bless you.
And it was the first day of summer.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, love?
Oh, that's good. So, but 60, how many years ago?
64.
Do you know that summer is coming earlier and earlier? That's why.
Yes?
Yeah, that's why now it comes on the 20th. See,
what do you know? Then I'll celebrate it on the 20th.
Yeah. Well, no, your anniversary still took place on the 21st.
That's right.
It's just that summer now officially rises by, by the naval. I go to the naval site that has all these statistics, and summer now comes to us a little earlier. It's coming early. It used to be on the 21st, all the time when I was a young fella, but now it arrives a bit earlier because it changes. in the universe.
Oh, what do you know?
Yeah, so see
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so it's a little earlier, so that means it goes sooner.
Okay, sweetheart.
We'll play
Thanks
a song for your anniversary. How's that?
Thanks, sweetheart.
What year did you get married now? 60, that's what? Back in, that's 50...
52.
Okay, 52. Wow. Wow, that's going back a few years.
Oh, if I only knew today what I know 52 years ago. 64 years ago.
Would you change a lot of things?
Oh, for the same man all these years.
Would you change much of it?
Oh?
Would you?
No.
No, you wouldn't. So you've enjoyed your life then?
No. Okay then, love.
Thank you.
Okay, love. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the call.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was delightful to talk to her. Well, you can call us here on the station. You can give us a call here, 9960500, 9960500. Today we can call this our beginning of summer program. And it's certainly a gorgeous day out there. This is I call it a 10 out of a 10. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Nice, low humidity. It's warm out, not a cloud in the sky. And it's a day to enjoy. We have so few of them. And so little time to enjoy them. So that's what I would do. Get out there and just enjoy the moment. Give thanks for your blessings. Give thanks that you have food in the refrigerator. Give thanks that you're still alive. And whatever health, if you're reasonably healthy, give thanks. That's the way to look at it. You really have to. Everybody's always complaining about what they don't have or what they want. I mean, they don't give thanks for what they've got. So sometimes you just have to kind of reflect. And now is a good time at the beginning of summer. I know I prefer this time of year and the maximum light any day over the darkness in the winter. Now, I know a lot of people out there, I talk to them all the time. They tell me, I don't like the summer. It's too hot. And they complain. And they're more people of the darkness. And that's certainly not me. I frankly get depressed in the winters. Actually, I don't know if I want to be around here anymore in the winters, to be honest with you. It's getting to the point in my life I'd just as soon as be anywhere but here in the winters. Nothing against this community by any means. It's just being at this latitude is the issue. But that's me. Some people prefer it. Some people like it. It's not in my DNA. I can tell you that. And while I can still get around, I think I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity. Who knows? Now, I started to talk here about what's Brian mean by this? He gave me a note. I'll have Matt look that up. I started to talk about the Mexican auto supplier moving here to Michigan, which leads me on to another story, but it's related. And this Tremec, a unit of Kuyo KUO Group, plans on building a plant up here in the Michigan area, and they're going to, which is surprising, and this talks about how the state of Michigan awarded the company $731,500 in business development program performance-based grant. So I guess it's based on how many people they hire, and is offering support to the project in the form of property tax abatement. Well, yeah, that's a problem today. A lot of companies refuse to go into high-tax areas to put up facilities and be taxed to death, and it's certainly obvious in Massachusetts and around this community. A lot of businesses avoid it, and you can't fault them. I mean, it's business. It's like if you have $1,000 and you want to deposit it in a bank, and one bank's paying 0.5% and the other bank is paying 1%. Where are you going to put your money? All things being equal, you're going to put it in a bank that pays you more interest. And the same goes with property tax. If one town or city is charging only $50,000 a year and the other wants $150,000, all things being equal, you're going to go to the lesser expensive one. That's the way it works. It's the way it works. But anyway, this company is Mexico City based, and they manufacture automotive, chemical, and they also make some food products. It has 18,000 employees worldwide, so it's a big outfit, and exports its products to more than 70 countries. So it chose Michigan over these other countries. We got to go for the news. We can talk about it after the other side. Thank you. We'll be back.
Of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow the moments go till I'm here heaven. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love. Just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros, and we're in our second hour now, and I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son, Andrew. We're located at 867 Church Street in New Bedford, in the north end. Just off of exit 5, very easy to get to, not a traffic light or a stop sign. And we're just down from Regal House Furniture. We're directly opposite of New Bedford Vocational's faculty entrance and bus entrance on the Church Street side of their facilities, of the vocational facilities. So we do all kinds of automotive repair, minor and major. So if you're unhappy with the people doing the service in your car, if you feel that you're not getting the proper service or you're being mistreated or overcharged, please look us up. I know a lot of people listen to us and they haven't come by and seen us yet, and we do earnestly ask for your business. We need your support to continue to keep this program on the air, and we rely on folks to support us. And we truly go out there to earn your confidence and your goodwill. And we've been at it for a long time. Ralph's has been in business since 1959 when my dad started a company in New Bedford. And we've been full circle. We've been in the automotive business, in the used car end of it, pre-owned end of it for many years, then went into new cars and went through, many of the franchises over the years, the Mazda and the Peugeot and the Isuzus and the Chevys and the Cadillacs and the Chryslers, the Plymouths, the Jeeps, the Eagles. And we've had quite a few, and the Suzukis as well, almost forgot them. Many different brands and models over the decades, and now we're independent. We're back into the used car business, and frankly, I'm happier doing that than being, putting up with all the bureaucracy of dealing with the new car manufacturer. And nothing, they're never happy, and it's always more regulations, more equipment, more tools, and the industry's changing so fast now. I bet you the new car dealers are being really hit hard with all this new equipment they're forced to buy because these cars are changing so fast. And so is the cost of repair, for that matter. They're getting quite expensive to repair. I had met one of my techs who had worked for me for several years when I had Chrysler, a young man by the name of Kevin. And when he worked for us, he was considerably younger and still learning the trade, had a few issues in his life to clear up, and then he left us, and then he went on to work for a big trucking firm, and he found he's a small guy, and working on big trucks, he found that, starters that weigh 100, 200 pounds were, just not for him. Everything you needed, some device to hold it up, because you couldn't carry it yourself, was so heavy. Even the truck tires and the rims weigh several hundred pounds. So he got out of that trade after a couple of years. Now he works for a new car dealer, and we were talking, and he says, and it was to hear him say it this way, and I've seen this already happen. He says, I use my laptop as much as I use my tools. Okay, so interesting comment from a young fella, and I said, "No, well, Kevin, I don't have a doubt in my mind. That's the fact." He says, "Yes, it's true." He says, "I go to my laptop as much as I go to my wrenches today to repair a car, and to reflash it, download new software, to update modules, and PCMs and transmission modules, you name it. They all have a module to be reflashed and updated, and look for codes and other trouble to track down, and that's what it's come to. And it's actually, I think it's going to get much worse than that. And I think people in the trade who are not are not comfortable using diagnostic equipment, electronic equipment, will become the dinosaurs. They'll be the ones who are just regulated to changing tires, doing ball joints, brake jobs, things like that. And even brake jobs now are getting to be not as simple and straightforward as they were. Now with electronic emergency brakes, you hit the button and they come in automatically, and they've changed the calipers around with servos in them, and radical changes here taking place. And even the regular mechanics in the trade are going to have a hard time unless they educate themselves. The backyard mechanic's going to be under severe pressure, and a do-it-yourselfer, forget about it, unless he's extremely talented. A few old dogs are retired who are in the trade, and they know their business fine. But we're almost at the era in the car business, kind of like what happened in radios and TVs when the transistors started to come out in the late 60s, and it started to put the tube guys put them in the back as more and more machines, receivers, TVs, radios came out with transistors, and tubes were being used less and less because they were much more expensive to build and burned far more power. And then obviously today you don't buy virtually anything that has a tube in it unless you're into stereos and you want a high-performance amplifier that's tube-driven, because the purists prefer it that way, and they just have a better bass, better sound, and that's true. And they do make some amplifiers that are tubes for the high-end listeners who want that kind of equipment. That's the exception, though, not the rule. And cars are kind of moving in a direction like that, where if you don't have a sophisticated laptop or the software on the laptop to interpret the readings and the codes, you're not going to be able to touch these cars. And that's what it's coming to. More and more. Every year it gets tighter and tighter. And so the problem we're having in the industry is that we don't have enough young people coming in who are embracing it, the trade. The trade's going to offer some good opportunities, because essentially there's less and less people out there to fix these cars that have the ability to fix these cars and to absorb this new technology. You have cars being designed by mechanical and electrical engineers at the doctorate level, because some of these engineers have doctorate degrees, who are designing these systems, being serviced at best by high school graduates. So there's a huge divide in the education. So, and without the proper investments, people, staying in it and staying up to date, it's going to be problematic. I know the new car dealers are feeling it for sure. And what happens with the manufacturers, if you're a new car dealer and you don't have their latest tools to fix a certain system on a car, or be it an engine component or transmission or suspension, if you don't have if you didn't order the tools from them or refuse to order them, and you get a job and even though you say you can fix it, they won't pay you because you didn't order the tools, or you don't have a technician who's certified in that type of repair. If your technicians are not certified to work on whatever end of the car you're trying to fix, and you don't have a technician that's certified by Chrysler, Ford, whoever the manufacturer is, they won't pay you if you haven't had a man sent to school to work on ABS systems, as an example. And that's what it's coming to. And this is why dealer service can be expensive at times, because they have to spend a lot of money educating their technicians to send them to school during company time. And the schools are provided usually by the manufacturer, but you have to show up and pay your man. So it's still an expense, even though you're not. Indirectly you're not. When directly you're not paying for the school, but indirectly you are. It's in the cost of doing business, obviously, when they order parts and different equipment. So these are the things that are happening in the trade, and that goes for foreign manufacturers as well. And they're forced to meet these new codes for mileage and safety. And all these now with basically they have the radar in the mirrors, sensing vehicles, auto stopping. Mercedes has been a pioneer in that. If you're not paying attention, your brakes will apply automatically so you don't smash into the car in front of you. And of course, warnings go off to notify you of this. All kinds of changes like that. Well, give us a call here, 9960500, 9960500. You listen to Al Boley. They're very thought of you. I love Al Boley. He's one of my favorite singers. Died at much too young of an age during the bombing of the Blitzkrieg of London during a Luftwaffe raid. So, these things change. Now you don't fly Luftwaffe, you fly Lufthansa. Actually, I'll be flying on Lufthansa because I'm heading to Russia in a few more days. So I'm going to go visit a friend of mine out there. He's getting married, and he invited me. He says, hey, why don't you come visit me over here? And I said, you know what? Time to get out of Dodge. I'm going to go visit you. So I'm leaving to go see him. He lives in Moscow. So I'll spend some time out there, and I finally got my visas. So that ought to be an interesting experience. Matt, maybe I'll give you a call. And,
yeah, definitely.
You know, so we can do that's a 7-hour difference, so we have to factor that in. It'll be 12 o'clock here at 7 in the evening there. So that ought to be interesting to see what's out there. I'll try to hit some dealerships out there, and I understand there's plenty of cars in Moscow. They have crazy traffic jams like they do in all major cities. It's a big city. So
yeah, be careful crossing the street over there.
Yeah.
I've seen some YouTube videos.
Have you? Yeah.
Everybody has a dash cam though. So
do they? Yeah, they do that. Yeah, they do have a lot of them have out there. That's the proof to what happened. You know, it's to prove what took place. So yeah, they say it's traffic out there is a little crazy. So they have all kinds of cars out there. Some cars that we're familiar with, and others we're not. In that country. Every country has their different regulations for automobiles. So it'll be interesting to see the Kremlin, Red Square, and other. There's some great museums there I like to see, and I'm right near the Bolshoi Theater, so that'll be interesting. Anyway, give us a call here at 996-0500, and we can talk about whatever's on your mind. Talking about this Mexican plant that we got truncated talking about because of the news, it is interesting to see, and it's a good sign to see some money coming back into this country where they're going to build a plant here. I'm sure it had a business reason for it. Obviously, they wouldn't do it for no other reason. I mean, they probably have to have a facility here to make it less expensive for them to deliver to the manufacturer, especially if they have a big order from a domestic manufacturer here in the States. So it says, but it goes on to say that the Mexican-owned company investing in Michigan is a change from recent trends as automakers pour billions into building new plants and facilities south of the border to capitalize on cheap labor. Detroit automakers have recently announced investments of about $10 billion in Mexico. Well, the trend is to build the subcompact cars, the American cars, and even the foreign cars, the Nissans, the Toyotas, in Mexico and ship them over the border here because the American labor is too high. So they'll build the compact cars, compact and subcompact, in Mexico and ship them north. And that's what they want to do. This way they can hold better gross when they sell the cars than assembling them in the United States. We say assemble because parts are sourced globally now. You know, some parts are made in the States, some from China, some all over India, you name it. Come from Thailand. There's just no one source. Now, you know, we're not at the top of the mountain anymore. So now we have to work harder and be leaner and meaner competitors. In fact, we've become fat and lazy in ever so many ways. And the world is not going to stop becoming more competitive because we're complaining. Okay, so we have to get out there and compete, just like the Germans do, and the English do, and all the others. Some do better than others, and I think lately we've been losing the game. So, but Ford earlier this year announced it plans to build a $1.5 billion plant in Mexico State. And that's what Trump has been complaining about. This was in addition to the Dearborn-based Michigan automaker announcing in 2014 that it would invest $2.5 billion in Mexico for an engine and transmission plants. So in 2014 they announced the two factories they were building for the engines and transmissions, and they announced this year this other plant. So you can see Ford is making major investments. General Motors said last week that it will invest $5 billion in Mexico over 6 years. So adding, through 2013. Well, I guess they started in 2013 initially, and it ends in 2018. Their expansion in Mexico, it'll add 5,600 new jobs in that region, in the Mexico state that they're building it in. And Chrysler, Fiat Automotive, which now Fiat owns Chrysler, And they're based in the Netherlands. They're an Italian company, but they're registered in the Netherlands probably for tax reasons in the EU. Well, no, probably for tax reasons in the EU to minimize their tax exposure, which you can't blame them. It's business. They're planning to build a plant in Mexico as well, producing the successor to the Jeep Compass and Patriot. So in Toluca, Mexico. Both the Compass, the Jeep Compass, and the Patriot are small Jeeps, okay? They're built in Belvidere, Illinois. And so they're going to start building them in Belvidere, Illinois. Who knows what will happen to the plant in Belvidere, Illinois, but they're going to move the production or the replacement for the Jeep Compass and the Patriot to the Mexican plant. So the company now provide investment costs, what Fiat Chrysler and it says here, Fiat Chrysler, as of last year, employed nearly 12,000 people at its Mexican operations. That's a lot of employees, huh? Yeah, that would employ a lot of people in this area, wouldn't it? But these are the realities. I mean, what's taking place, and it's up to us to get, to be more competitive. And I just don't see that happening in the near future. So I just see more of the same old. We're kind of like in a funk like Japan's been for the last 30 years. They have a stagflation. They have a zombie economy. And we're turning into that. In the last, this cycle here, this last 8 years, we've had no year where growth has been over 3% by any measure. Growth of the GDP. So we've been very anemic. And that's why there's a lot of unrest out there. People see themselves getting poorer. Those who are working, and they're not getting the pay raises, and their expenses are going up. Cost of living is going up. The cost of government and taxes are going up, and they're not keeping up. So when you have more than a year or two of this going on, it's going on now for many years, it becomes apparent they're falling behind further and further, in spite of all these glowing speeches addressing what's happening to the middle class from both the Republicans and especially the Democrats. Nothing seems to change. And hence you've seen the rise of Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. People are getting pissed off because they don't see changes coming from the two parties. Well, kind of like the song The Who has, the old boss is the same as the new boss. And so it goes. And so it goes. Okay, we've got a caller here. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hey, good afternoon, Ralph.
Hey, how are you?
I'm hanging in,
Good. Well, that's all you can do. Enjoy your time, though, right?
Well, you only got so much, and thank God you don't know how much.
Well, that's true. Thank God you don't know.
Okay. What you're describing, of course, is the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
Japan has been in the toilet for quite a while. And if I'm not mistaken, they are at negative interest rates.
They are. Mm-hmm.
For people who don't know what that is, it means you put money in the bank, and not only don't you not get interest, which sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? They take some of your money from you.
For the privilege of them holding it for you, correct?
And using it, of course.
Yep.
We got to remind people of that. They're not, excuse me, they're not being altruistic.
Mm-hmm.
We see in Massachusetts, Governor Baker's got a bit of a problem with shortfalls of revenue. But you know what? I'm not surprised. If the average person is not making good money, he's not paying the taxes. We can't support this country anymore.
Well, we can't support... I think you have to rephrase that. We can't support the government as it exists anymore.
Well, it's easy to say that, but every person you let go of from government is a person who can't go to your business and buy something.
Well, but we have a deficit. Sooner or later, this is going to come to a crashing halt.
Well, two main reasons we have a deficit. One, we've shipped America overseas.
Yeah. Okay.
No question about that. We have betrayed America. I don't want no chucklehead waving a flag in my face, because I'm going to show the flagpole up where the sun doesn't shine.
Oh.
You bet I will. I'm tired of this crooked country.
Well, okay, I can appreciate what you're saying.
You know, those of us who have worked hard and saved hard, we've had the knife stuck in our back.
Okay. You know, you said saved hard. See, the saver is being screwed right now.
Oh, you know exactly where I'm going.
The saver is being screwed by our government and the Federal Reserve, which is not a governmental entity.
I was listening to the business news the other day, and some Federal Reserve official, not the chairman, not Yellen, but somebody high muckety-muck said, we may not see more than one interest rate increase before 2018.
Okay.
There will, translation, some of us will die before we see our interest rates go up again.
But don't you see the game? Why? Let me ask you this: and why can't they raise interest rates? Or why won't they raise it? Let me rephrase it: why will they not raise?
Two reasons. Excuse me. One is if the government debt, if the interest rate goes up, it blows sky high.
Okay.
The bigger reason, though, is the economy is phony.
Well, okay, it's okay.
And
You're in the right
I wish I could prove it. I don't have the power to prove it. Because I know this much. First off, we're defining the economy in terms of Wall Street. Maybe you don't, maybe I don't, but they do. And Wall Street, there's only so much profit you can milk out of the cow. There's only so much money you can make by playing with money.
Well, yeah, we have it's a financial Wall Street-based economy. It's not based on the good old manufacturing jobs and the rules and regulations.
Or like I say, it's not based on any reality.
Well, no, it's it's amazing that in our country here, no one's gone to jail for this.
Well, that's what I mean.
2008 crash we were still living through.
Are we warming up for another one? I believe
absolutely.
so.
Absolutely.
I think this is going to make that one look like a picnic.
Yeah, no, I think we're...
Number one, nobody's been held accountable.
All right.
Nothing's been fixed.
No.
You may not like Bernie Sanders, but his comment was, 5 of the 6 big banks are bigger than ever.
Well, no, I agree with a lot of his message. I disagree with his roadmap to solving the problem.
Right.
Socialism has put us where we're at now. Corporate
I disagree
socialism.
there.
Well, it's corporate socialism, my friend. I don't care.
If you want to call it corporate socialism, you have some agreement with me. The biggest thing, and I keep saying it, I don't have anybody proving me wrong, is the war machine.
Well,
you can't have a huge war machine and not pay for it.
Yeah. Well, it's not just a war machine. We have entitlements that we can't afford that are way overboard.
Well, again, why can't we afford those entitlements? Because people aren't making good money. That's why.
Well, but we've eviscerated...
People are not making good money. And in terms of things like Medicare, Consumer Reports several years ago did a story on Medicare. And they said, in fact, it was a good-run program. The real problem today is medicine has become this huge corporation.
Well, it's
driven more
business.
by profit than it is by patient care.
Yep. So the name of the game is to stay healthy as best you can, eat healthy, think healthy, and stay out of the system. Avoid these underwriting and supporting big corporations, big government, because it's not in our best interest. It truly isn't.
Let me give you an example.
You have to do business with these people. Don't get me wrong. But
let me give you an example. A businessman I know, he had an accident with his pickup truck. In his yard, he made a mistake. He backed up into a trailer. I don't mean a tractor trailer. I mean a little trailer. He made a mistake. What was the mistake? Claiming it. Damage was $1,500. Would you care to guess what his surcharges added up to?
Oh, yeah, they probably took a nail gun to him.
$17,000.
Yeah, that's insanity.
If that isn't anybody who doesn't call that corruption. Well, I used to say, I still do, Dillinger was honest. He did it with a gun.
Yeah, well, keep voting for the same people, and this is what you're going to get.
It doesn't make a difference.
Well,
because they're all bought and sold by the big money.
Yeah, well, all our senators and congressmen, for the most part,
Something hit me funny today. I know I'm right, so you will, of course, agree with me. Get over it.
What is that? You're right. You know you're right on what? What's
everything?
Oh.
A lighter moment. Before
Well, you know what? It's almost the first day of summer.
A lighter moment before I'm getting
That's
to what
good.
I'm getting.
You're getting to the bright lights and okay. That's okay.
I'm excellent. I know that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I'm excellent.
Yeah, a little hubris is good.
You look at Trump.
Yo, there's plenty of hubris there.
You know, when we saw that tragedy last week in Orlando.
Oh, God, yeah.
And one more time, the FBI had warnings.
Yep.
The gun shop where this guy went to and wanted to buy body armor, the owner was so bothered, he called the FBI. They did nothing. Why are we a country today that doesn't demand and expect excellence?
Well, it's the Federal Bureau of Incompetence.
But it's across the board.
Yeah. Well,
gross incompetence. Nobody cares.
Well, yeah, but it's when I hear and read these things, it's just like when Obama was down in Costa Rica. His Secret Service was, I think it was Costa Rica or Panama, I forget which, or maybe it was Colombia. I think it was Colombia, and his Secret Service was in bars picking up prostitutes, and it's all set up and arranged. I'm saying, boy, there's just no call to duty. You look at some of our elite military forces. Sure, they raise hell and have beers, but they stay on their mission. They stay on their mission.
Play hard.
Right. They stay on their mission, and you look at the decadence within our government. It's really appalling. It's really appalling.
I thought about it. It wasn't so long ago, on that July evening of 1969, looking at a black and white TV, watching the man step foot on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We were excellent not too long ago.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because when I reflect on that moment, I think of John Kennedy, President Kennedy, when he was, giving his speeches. And I can remember his speeches on putting a man on the moon. And he had many speeches about talking about putting a man on the moon. And now I listen to our President Obama, and he's interested in putting a man in the ladies' room. And it's like, what the hell? I mean, we've gone from accomplishing technical feats of American technology to now worried about putting a man in the woman's room. It's like a major national issue against everything else going on. And I say to myself, what the hell is going on?
I remember
in our
Gene
country?
Kranz, the flight director of the famous Apollo 13, said, when Kennedy said that we're going to put a man on the moon, people thought he was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, like Kranz, started to lean back and said, wait a minute, I think we can do this. And we did it.
Yep.
Today we can't do anything right. And we don't care because there's no accountability.
Our culture has been debased, the American culture. Now, we've had some major improvements, okay? We've improved in things like civil rights. There's been great improvements in that. And also in human rights. I mean, gays shouldn't be bashed and beat up, and certainly not shot up, okay?
Yeah.
They keep pushing their agenda. I don't know what the end of it is, but should they be left alone and enjoy their lives? And if they want to get married, so be it. Yeah, sure. But we've debased our culture and I think if we fundamentally get down to it, is when a person does not have any religious upbringing, be that what it may, short of radical religious upbringing, you don't have a moral compass in your life. And we're seeing...
Well, I'm not so sure I agree with that.
Well, then you're seeing...
You can be taught morality.
Oh, really?
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
It's interesting you're saying that, because they're teaching our troops who are based in Japan that it's not proper to rape 12-year-old girls.
Well, that's
because a lot of our troops go over there and they don't know right from wrong, and they're raping young girls. And in Japan, it created a rage.
As it should.
Yeah. And now they have another case of an American contractor who killed his Japanese wife. And they're not under Japanese law; they come under American law. So it's enraged them. So our American imperialism is not well received in many countries, and you wonder why they hate us. You wonder why they hate us. So
we don't want to admit it.
But listen, we've lost our moral compass. We've lost our moral compass, and this is the result of it. And you see the generations coming up, and you hail from a more. I hate to use the word liberal because it's improper, because I'm more of a libertarian, and to use the word liberal is a corruption of the word, and talking about or labeling a Democrat, let's say. I think you have to call it what it is. They hail more from the left, more of the Socialist Party, like they do in Europe. You just call the stripe that you're under, and but I think we're reaping what we've sown. The debasement of our culture, and here it is. Enjoy the decline. I got to let you go.
I agree with you, but a lot of that is, this is a woman physicist who said it very well, and she's an atheist. Mm-hmm. Is it more important not to do wrong because you believe it's important not to do wrong, or because you're afraid of some ultimate power is going to zap you?
Well, I think in both cases. I mean, if whatever motivation.
I think I'd rather do right because I believe it's right.
Yeah, but based on your premise, people are still doing wrong at a greater level now than ever. So think about that.
We don't think anything's wrong anymore.
Because there is no right or wrong. Okay, so that's the right. So they don't have any moral compass or principles to go by.
America's what can we get away with?
Well, now, yes. It's grade inflation to get through school. They cheat, they lie. To say I meet people with college degrees, and I start talking to them, and there's nothing there.
I'll tell you something. You demand high quality. You take grief.
Well, I believe me, from your position, I can certainly understand that, because you're given Johnny's parents are going to come in, the administration's going to get on you because, hey, get along, go along, move them on. So education has become corrupted.
In spite of all of this ed reform, nothing's getting better.
I know. Well, education is corrupted.
Hey, you be good, sir.
Okay, thank you. Matt, who's up next? Very good afternoon, Giacomo.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hi.
You were talking about Wall Street.
Yeah.
Now, Wall Street primarily makes their money off the derivatives market.
One major, yeah.
Right, interest rate swaps.
Yep.
And banks like Citibank, Morgan Stanley, J.P. Morgan,
Goldman Sachs,
Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs. That's where the derivatives market is still going on, and it's not just those banks, but European banks.
Oh yeah,
we're talking billions and trillions of dollars.
Trillions, yep.
That whole thing, the whole stack of cards is going to fold.
Well,
it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when.
Well, they're doing all they can to keep the dollar afloat. I don't know how we're going to meet our unfunded liabilities. I think a lot of people are going to be in shock when this all takes place.
Well, the thing is, going back to President Nixon, when he took the United States off the gold and silver standard and put it on the petrodollar, that's when the dollar started to go on the decline. You could start to see it probably towards the end of the 70s, early 80s, and right into today. What's holding the United States dollar, what's holding the fiat currency up is the petrol, it's the oil. But if the BRIC nations get together with the European nations and no longer purchase petrol, the petrol using U.S. dollars, then that's going to have an adverse effect on the economy, because the GDP is somewhere around 2%, where it used to be 6 to 8%. And
of what now?
It's an anemic economy.
You've been talking growth.
We're talking growth.
Oh, growth. If you really want to be liberal, it would be 2% thereabouts or less. I mean, if you're really gonna, But I say to you that we've been pretty much in an anemic. If we're touching 2%, that is probably and that's 2% if it's done in a moderately conservative way of assessment, because they lie like crazy on putting out these statistics, and this economy has been very, very anemic. Okay, if not contracting. I mean, sure, there's more jobs they say come out, but they're all low-level jobs, part-time jobs. I meet so many people who have 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. A lot of young people. This is the reality out there. So they don't get benefits. And so things haven't sorted themselves out. And as far as the currency goes, you're right, it's a fiat-based currency. It's based on a petrodollar. Kissinger set that up. He was just at Bilderberg, which just, I think, wound up this week in Stuttgart, Germany. And he was protested at. He's 90, what is he now, 93, 94? But he was still there as a speaker. He's certainly part of the cabal that's this global government. That's one of the kingpins. But are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
The thing to be concerned about is when our currency is no longer the reserve currency. I think most Americans won't realize the poverty they're in, okay? Because you're going to see the currency devalued probably in the line of 40% range. If I had to, put a number on it, guesstimating. And so essentially 40% of your living standard will go down. So, I mean, if you're making several $100,000, then it's going to be a big punch. But people on the lower end of the scale is going to be significant. And imports will increase in price significantly. And there's moves. The German, you had mentioned the Chinese and the Russians. The Russians are making deals based in the yuan or in ruble currency. And for instance, they just had a multi-billion-dollar gas deal in the northern Siberia region to supply gas to China. And they're going to be doing it in their own currencies, not using the dollar. So they're getting away from the dollar as a settlement currency. We're not there yet, but it's not far. So, yes, we're in a precarious position, and we're not changing our policies. We're still...
Currently, the U.S. dollar is the world trade currency for all of...
Well, it's settlement... but they're trying to move away from that.
Right.
They're trying to set up a market basket of currencies now.
Right.
And bring the yuan in and the euro. So we'll see how that goes. But we've played it out. We're running deficits that are 1.8, 1.9 trillion current account deficits. We have trillions in unfunded liabilities. And it's impossible if you do the math, the best mathematician, to pay these debts without spectacular growth in our economy. And I just don't see that happening.
Unsustainable. So
no, we've turned into a welfare state, a welfare war state. It's essentially.
So if you look at the scenario where you have a weakened dollar, you have an anemic GDP, some economists say it's probably around 1.8%. Then Janet Yellen brought up the fact that negative interest rates, because it's working in Germany, the Federal Reserve is considering negative interest rates. So if you add all of those things, which means you have to pay for your money to be in your savings account.
Right. Well, what they're trying...
That is not a good scenario in the long term.
They're trying to flush your money out by giving you... But see, we in America... We're not doing like they're doing in Europe, let's say, where they have, like, even Switzerland had negative interest rates. But Switzerland is a far more wealthier country than we are per capita. Okay, the Swiss are very thrifty, and they have other ways of putting them. And if you're going to pay you negative interest rates, you must just buy silver and gold, right? Rather than have them take 0.5% of your money every month. But we have, in a way, when you think about it, we have negative interest rates in this country because let's say you're earning 1% on your money. Okay, and you're doing pretty good if you're getting 1%, right? And then you pay your taxes on that 1% because it's based on your income, correct? That's income to you, so you have to pay your taxes. So your net, that 1% isn't your true net. Let's say you net out 0.6%, but they're printing money at the rate of 4 and 5%. So net, you're behind. Follow what I'm saying? They're debasing our currency. So most Americans don't have a clue. They don't understand inflation. They don't understand capital formation. They're incredibly ignorant of these things, more so now than our parents and grandparents and grandfathers who had far less education. And that's, I find, appalling. We're spending billions, hundreds of billions in education, and people now are dumber than ever. They're a dumb bunch of rocks.
What Janet Yellen did not mention is that in Germany, most of the populace are savers. Not only are they savers, but their economy is thriving, and they also invest a lot into manufacturing and technology. So that is the main component that is failing or missing from the United States. So you can't compare the two because you're comparing apples and pineapples. That's what.
The Germans are much more thrifty. So are the Japanese. The only reason the Japanese economy is still going, and they have debts that are much greater than ours as a percentage of GDP. But the Japanese people are very, very thrifty. So they're saving a lot of dough. But think about this now. Next conversation we have, and I'll let you go. The next time this crashes, there will not be a banking bailout. It'll be a bail-in. They're going to take your money that's in the savings accounts to underwrite the banks, okay, like they did in Cyprus. They've already proved they can do it. So the next time around, it'll be a bail-in, okay? Think about that. That's what they're heading to. So they'll come out with a new currency, And of course, your debts will not go away. But this allows by all this quantitative easing, which is basically printing money, they're debasing our currency. They're trying to pay off their debts with inflated dollars. That's the way the government does it. This is nothing new. The Weimar Republic did this in the 1920s after the settlement of World War I, and the Germans, their economy was in disaster, and they had to pay these war reparations, and they couldn't afford to do it, and they started printing money. We're very similar to that situation now, So,
but on a bigger scale, though.
Oh my God! This is the biggest. This is the biggest debt bubble in history. That's why Trump made a comment that someone has to maybe, write off this debt. Now, he had the Tanakas to come out and say this. I've never heard another politician ever say this, a politician of any stature, come out and say this publicly. Okay? And nobody wanted to discuss it. They all turned around and said, oh, man, we're not going there. Because, you might need a business guy in there to say, guess what, we can't pay this, which is true. And you're going to screw all the bondholders that hold federal bonds, right, the Treasury notes, because we can't settle our accounts with the Chinese. They take all our debt. They take debt. So that's why they're cashing a lot of their debt out and buying assets in America. They're buying farms and factories and coal plants and things like that, resources that are hard money. They're getting out of the debt issuance and getting into hard assets, okay? And that's what you do to save yourself. So, and that's what the big guys are doing, because it's a game. It's a game. I got to let you go. I got other calls, but thank you. Thank you. It's been interesting. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hi, Ralph. I disagree a little bit with what you say there. I've heard, as far as government bonds, I've heard that foreign governments are buying our bonds. They're buying them at a rate that they want them 3 times more than what we'll sell. And I disagree with the last caller saying that it was the petrodollar. I think it was the petrodollar that kept our currency so high for years. But now it's the fact that despite all the problems we're in, a lot of countries are a lot worse than ours. So the dollar is staying strong because, in a bad, if you get the best house in a bad neighborhood, that's the way I see.
But there's going to be the bonds. What'll happen is the Treasury bonds. What they say when you're buying a freighter full of Chinese TVs, and we don't have yuan to give them back to settle the account. We give them an issuance of U.S. Treasuries. We give them debt, so they have a claim on this government because we can't settle the account. So if we write those off, they're going to get screwed. They're going to get a haircut. Okay? Or if we say, just like the bondholders in Puerto Rico, if we say that I haven't seen this final agreement on the settlement, but if you own a $100 bond in Puerto Rico, and the settlement is, hey, we're going to pay you 40 cents, you took a 60% haircut.
I don't think they're going to stick it to the big guys. I think they're going to stick it to the little people.
I think they're going to
stick it to I think they're going to keep the bondholders, especially the governments there. They're going to keep them whole, and it's people on Social Security that they're going to stick it to. They're going to say
Well, they're already doing that because there's been no raises 3 years in a row since 2010.
I know, but then when they say we're in deflation and they prove we're in deflation, they'll say, all right, your check was $1,000 this month, but now they're going to take money out of that. They'll take 2% out of that. They not only will they not give you an increase, but they'll give you a decrease. So
we're in now a stagflation. Okay, this is like the 70s in a different twist. You remember the 70s?
Yeah.
We had prices increasing like crazy, and the economy was in a funk. The big difference, though, back in the 70s is we had the means of production pretty much still in this country. Okay?
Yep.
Now, New Bedford had plenty of factories in the 70s, and the means of... And Johnny wanted to get thrown out of work at Alden Corrugated, and maybe he was on the dole for 6 months, 8 months. But when things started to pick up, the factory called him back, and Johnny went back to work.
Either that or he went to Goodyear or he went to Aerovox.
That's right. That's right. Well, now, guess what?
So many places, yeah.
Yeah, now what do we got? What do we got? We got nothing.
Now we got Hillary Clinton and her promises.
She'll lie to... Listen, they all lie. But, my God, she's... I don't want to...
That was one of the points I was going to bring up, is that you had a caller, I think it was the caller a couple of calls ago, that called a few weeks back, and he mentioned that Donald Trump was a fraud. And I think you corrected him. If I could have called in, I would have. But the fact is, all the politicians are frauds.
Right.
Right. Who isn't? You know, I remember when Kennedy was running. Senator Kennedy was running his next to last term, and my mother, God rest her soul, died in the World Democrats. Said he came out and he said, "This is the last time I'm going to run. Vote for me now, and that's it." And my mother said, "Oh, we got to vote for him. This is the last time he's going to run." And I said, "Mom, he's a career politician. This isn't the last time he's going to run." "Oh, no. We got to vote for him. We got to vote for him." They voted for him. He won in by a landslide. That was over. The next election came. Guess what? He ran again. And I said, "Mom, are you going to vote for him?" Well, why wouldn't we? I said, "Well, remember the last election where he said, this is the absolute last time I'm going to run. I'm not going to run again." Well, that was last time. Now, just like I told you, he's running again. Yeah. "Oh, well, he did such a great job," and all blah, 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 blah. They're all frauds. How about our last governor, Patrick, there, when he was running for election or re-election, he said, "You know, you vote for me, and I'll get the train in, running in from New Bedford." And then, like, at the last minute, he kind of sneaked it in. He says, "Well, I might not be able to do it in my first term."
I got to let you go. I'm running out of time.
We haven't even had it. Yeah, I know. We haven't even had it now. You know?
I know. I agree.
Have a nice weekend.
We're out of time. Thank you. Yeah. Folks,
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Look us up at Ralph's Auto Center in North New Bedford on Church Street. Billy will take my place here next week, God willing, and I hope to see you in a little bit. I'll be back for my journey. Maybe I can make a call over here. We'll see. But I thank you for listening. Stop by and see us for cars and service. Remember, if you're selling a car, we can help you there. Check us out. $19.99 oil changes plus tax and disposal. Semi-synthetic oil. Great deals on tires, cars, you name it. We got it. If you've been listening for a long time, you haven't stopped by and seen us yet, please do. We look forward to your business. Thank you for listening. God bless. Be safe. Enjoy your summer, because everything's fleeting. Catch you next week.